E3 2015 is well underway, and we got to see a little bit of what Nintendo had to show off. I'm Justin, this is Peter, and we got to play Star Fox, one of the most exciting reveals from the Nintendo Direct presentation, but actually getting to play it, maybe not so much.
Yeah, this was the biggest game of the show, both for Nintendo and for me personally. And going into this, I was so excited. The presentation looked great. You know, we found out that they're actually making this game with Platinum Games, which is also one of my favorite developers. So I went in with really high hopes, but wow, the controls were, I'd say, confusing. And, you know, I've played a lot of Star Fox. And
you're a very big Star Fox fan.
Yeah, and it felt like they've created a problem that the series never had before, just so they can justify the gamepad being an integral part of the Wii U.
It's something that Nintendo, I think, does a lot. They have really great hardware, and they want to give you a reason to use it. Splatoon was very similar. When I started out playing Splatoon, I didn't like the motion controls. I was like, I'm a regular gamer. I'm going to turn this off and play it normally. But then after doing that for maybe half an hour, I was like, actually, the motion controls make it better. And it didn't take me that long to get the hang of it, to feel like motion controls add to this experience. I still don't necessarily like to play it like when I'm relaxing at home because it's a very active. You're moving the controller a lot. Star Fox, even though we had a pretty extended amount of time to get used to the game, I never got used to it. Like, I just wanted to turn it off the entire time. So the way that it works is you have to hold your controller up and have the screen right in front of you, and you're just kind of constantly looking back and forth between them while also moving the controller.
Yeah.
You're very engaged, which is a good thing, but not necessarily in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, so you have those two setups because the top screen is meant for actually flying your ship, right? Maneuvering around the environment, around obstacles. But then if you really want to fire effectively, that's when you go into the cockpit view because the line of sight for the reticle is right from there. And, you know, you'd think, okay, I have the reticle over the guy in the TV view. You can still aim while moving. You'd think that it would hit the enemy. It kept missing, even when the reticle was right on him. And the guy told me, because you should switch to the cockpit view, that gives you the right perspective. I mean, yes, it's definitely confusing. But let's at least talk about what else is in the game, because there's more than just confusing controls here.
Yeah, I mean, controls aside, the level of detail in the backgrounds was really great. I loved flying through Corneria, and I mean, having a level of detail that we were never able to get with previous Nintendo games, and seeing the cities, seeing the level of destructibility, the huge enemies that you're flying against, the multi-tiers of bosses. Like, there's still a lot that's very impressive about Star Fox.
Yeah, and we also got to see some of the new vehicles. Well, the R-Wing is not a new vehicle, but it has a feature that has not been in a previously released Star Fox. At least I can't remember that it has been. I don't think it has. Transforming into the Landwalker? Either way, you transform into a mech. I can't remember the name right now, but that's okay. So you literally press the A button and you flip from being a plane into a walking mech. And that lets you, fly into ships and crawl through little corridors to maybe find a secret. Or take on enemies more close up rather than having to fly overhead and swoop around them.
And we also got to play around with some of the other vehicles in the game. There was the Landmaster tank, and there was kind of a floaty thing.
Yeah, the gyro wing. It's essentially a drone. But it has a drone of its own. It can drop a little robot that's tethered to it. It looks a lot like Rob the Robot, actually, the old Nintendo accessory, which they've also announced amiibos for, apparently. And with that, you can, again, explore little corridors and try to find stuff. I mean, there is a lot to do in the Star Fox game beyond just flying a ship and shooting at other ships coming at you. The success of this game is really going to come down to the controls. And, we're going to be finding out soon if you can use the Pro Controller, which, unfortunately, they weren't able to answer during that event. But we're going to be speaking to the Platinum Games director, who also worked on Bayonetta 2.
And speaking of Platinum Games, they've been working with the Star Fox team in a lot of different capacities. So you had that smaller robot game that we were dealing with. They're going to be doing Project Guard, which we saw last year, which has some connection to Star Fox. Not totally sure what that is, but Platinum Games says that the gameplay is finished. We just need to see what the game is going to be, probably sometime next year.
Yeah. So with a lot of talent behind Star Fox, it's still reasonable to have high hopes, but initial impressions are a little rough. So, Justin, thank you for joining me, and stick with GameSpot for the rest of E3 for all your gaming news.